This is the PKK, and it's listed as a terrorist organization by many countries around the world. To understand why, we need to go back to the 1970s. A group of students led by Abdullah Öcalan came together to set up a Marxist-Leninist region across southeast Turkey. They named their group the PKK, and their aim was to create a greater Kurdish state spreading across neighboring countries. At the time, Turkey was dealing with its own problems of the Cold War. There was escalating violence between left-wing and right-wing groups that eventually led to a military coup in 1980. A year before, Öcalan left to Syria, then later to Lebanon. Here, he established the PKK's first headquarters in the Bekaa Valley, with the support of the Syrian government. In 1984, the PKK began its armed guerrilla campaign against Turkey. It started attacking state officials and civilians across the country. Villages were burned down, children were kidnapped, there were suicide bombings, and people were murdered. In the 1990s, the PKK's attacks went beyond the borders of Turkey. There were highly coordinated attacks and illegal demonstrations across Europe, many of which ended in violent clashes with the police. During the same period, the US State Department published numerous reports about the PKK's involvement in organized crime and drug trafficking. These events later led the US government to officially list the PKK as a terrorist organization. Giving in to the ongoing pressure of Turkey, Syria also stopped openly harboring the PKK. This pushed them to move their headquarters to the Kandil Mountains in northern Iraq, just across the border from Turkey, where it remains today. In 1999, PKK leader Abdullah Öcalan was arrested in Kenya, but his arrest didn't deter his followers. Laying low for the next 6 years, the PKK cadre consolidated its power and reorganized. The PKK goes by different names in different countries. There's the PJAK in Iran, PCDK in Iraq, and PYD in Syria. They are all known to engage in violent activities aiming to advance the PKK agenda and establish authority in their respective countries. But in recent years, the most active is the PYD's armed wing, the YPG. By 2004, the PKK's attacks upon the Turkish state rose once again. Fast forward to 2013, Turkey started a peace process and announced that there were ongoing talks with the jailed PKK leader Öcalan. As a result, a bilateral ceasefire was agreed on, and it looked as though the violence that had claimed the lives of over 40,000 people was coming to an end. During this time, Turkey saw a dramatic decrease in terrorism-related attacks and deaths. But violence flared once again in 2015, when the ceasefire was unilaterally broken by the PKK, and the organization's senior figure, Bese Hozat, announced that the time had come for a, quote, revolutionary public war. Meanwhile, the fight against Daesh in Syria was escalating, and the US had shifted its allegiance to the YPG. They told the group to rebrand itself as the Syrian Democratic Forces.
I thought it was a stroke of brilliance to put democracy in there somewhere.
Then they began training and equipping them. The US-backed SDF did clear Daesh out, but then they took control. When Raqqa was cleared in 2017, these pictures emerged. On the posters was Abdullah Öcalan, the incarcerated founder of the PKK. Many countries and international organizations have declared the PKK to be a terrorist organization. This, however, does not stop them from operating their criminal network throughout Europe and the Middle East. 70% of the PKK's finances are said to come from drug trafficking and tribute collection. And groups such as the Human Rights Watch and United Nations Human Rights Council have pointed out the YPG and SDF's large-scale human rights violations and ethnic displacements in northern Syria. As long as the PKK continues to get the West's blessing, it's not just the people of Turkey, but also the Arabs, Kurds, and the Turkmens of the region who will suffer.